Three of our digital learning, and we're going to try to finish up our fire basic notes. So here we go. We're going to look at arson facts in America. According to the FBI Crime Index, juvenile and adult arson case, an annual average of 560,000 fires, 750 deaths, 3,700 injuries, and $1.5 billion in property loss. 55% of all arson arrests in the United States are children under the age of 18. What are some common motives for arson? Well, here we go. This is the stuff that kind of gets us very interested in this. Crime and concealment, to conceal another crime such as murder, burglary, or vehicle. Revenge or spite, to get back at someone for a perceived injustice. And then monetary gain. Arson for profit. Fires are set to burn a building, vehicle, or some other object in order to gain profit from the fire. The profit may come in several forms, from insurance coverage on the property or from putting a competitor out of business. The last one, the third and final one, monetary gain. This is the one in which it's probably the most prevalent due to insurance fraud. A lot of people think that they can fake a fire in order to collect the insurance, and that is not the case. Our investigators are very thorough and very good at what they do. So let's continue on some of the common motives for arson. The next one is malicious vandalism, fire set to someone's property just to destroy it. Malicious vandalism fires account for the largest percent of arson fires. Um, these fires are frequently set by juveniles. If you recall, a few years ago, there was a rash of fires that were broken out along the U.S. that happened to deal with churches. Was a very good example of what we would consider a malicious vandalism. And then the last one is the mentally disturbed. Some people have been found to have an irresistible impulse to set fires. Some common arson charges. Arson felony is up to $25,000 fine and 3 to 7 years in jail. A person commits arson when, by means of fire or explosive, he does knowingly. The next one is aggravated arson, which is also a felony charge up to $25,000 fine and 6 to 30 years in jail. A person commits an aggravated arson when, in the course of committing arson, he knowingly damages, particularly or totally, any building or structure, um, including any adjacent building or structure. And the last one is residential arson, felony up to $25,000, 4 to 15 years in jail. And once again, it's a person who knows willingly to damage partially, totally, or building or surrounding structures in which a person lives in. What can you do to help prevent arson or arson damage? Report suspicious persons and activities that may result in arson. If you have a friend or classmate that set fires in the past or plans to set fires, tell an adult, parent, teacher, counselor, police officer, or fireman. Start or participate in a community watch program with your parents. Install and properly maintain fire alarms in your home and encourage friends and relatives to do the same. Your family should have a fire escape to plan if your home ever does begin fire. So we're going to move out of our presentation on fire basics, and we're going to jump into the very beginnings here of looking at explosions, which is also continues on your guided note sheet. If you're following on the guided note sheet, you'll see where this picks up at the end. So what are explosions? Explosions are substances that undergo a rapid oxidation reaction with the production of large quantities of gases. A sudden buildup of gas pressure determines the nature of the explosion, and the speed at which the explosives decompose permits their classification as either a high or low explosive. So, what's the difference between high and low explosives? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Low uses are such things as black or smokeless powder. Black powder is a mixture of potassium, sodium, and nitrate, charcoal, and sulfur. Smokeless powder consists of nitrated cotton, um, nitrocellulose or nitroglycerin and nitrocellulose. What are the high explosives? These are primary and secondary. Primary explosives are ultra sensitive to heat, shock, or friction and provide the major ingredients found in blasting caps or primers used to detonate other explosives. Secondary explosives are relatively insensitive to heat, shock, or friction and will normally burn rather than detonate if ignited in small quantities. And this group comprises the majority of our commercial military blasting, such as dynamite, TNT, PETN, and RDX. Usually, pipe bombs, for what we study in our course, this kind of falls under this category as well. We'll take a look at, I believe it's the Oklahoma City bombing, and we'll take a look at that later on in this course. The explosive market. In recent years, nitroglycerin based dynamite has all but disappeared from the industry explosive market and has been replaced by ammonium nitrate based explosives, which these are water gels and emulsions. In many countries outside the United States, the accessibility of military high explosives unfortunately fall into the hands of terrorists and make them as a common constituent of homemade bombs. And RDX is the most popular and powerful of military explosives. It's also known as C4. So we're going to call it quits for today. You guys will be working on the Willingham arson case. It's a video presentation that's followed up with questions. I think day 1 is 8 questions, day 2 is 7 questions. You'll be watching that video. It's a sad story, but nonetheless, we need to cover it. And I'll get back to you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. You got to be kidding me.